and wherever you are, whether you're on LinkedIn or you're on Facebook or on YouTube, welcome to today's session. I've been doing them consequently every single evening for the last 5 days or so. I'm kind of getting used to it. I kind of like it. So wherever you are on the planet, I kind of do it late now because the reason I do it late is because all our friends in America have just woken up. And so if you're having your breakfast in America, breakfast in America, super tramp. Yeah, the old DJ bit of me is coming out now, like it ever left. I'd love to know and love to be able to talk to you. And if you've got any questions about the stuff we're talking about, then I'd like to know that too. Today we're going to be talking about the Thought Leaders Playbook, which is my book. And today it won't look all weird and ghostly. That's it, the Thought Leaders Playbook. And I'll be talking about how you can get a copy of that book and also the training system that goes with it. So if you want to reinvent yourself and have the most amazing 2025, that's the way to do it. I was telling you how you can do it and how the things that can come into your life and make it really interesting for you as well in today's session. So as we start talking about it, I can show you this. This is the book. That's the book, because it's all back to front where I'm looking. And that is a QR code that takes you to the website so you can see exactly what it is that we're doing and how to get involved in it. And we're checking now, we are broadcasting live, which is fantastic. And wherever you are in the world, it's nice to see you. So getting straight into it, I had the most amazing day. And I'll tell you all about it in a few moments' time. You're watching Speak on Stage. So welcome back to the show. As I said before, my name is Dave Crane. Normally it says Dave Crane somewhere. Oh, I know where it says Dave Crane. It says it on my globe. There. My fingers don't point that way. There. That's the globe. But you've got to look very closely because it goes round and round and round. And you probably fall off your chair if you do. So don't bother looking too closely. So today I talked to some thought leaders, people who you would, if you don't know them, you would know of them. And collectively they probably reach about, I'd say, impacting about 200, 300 million people through the decisions that they make and the things that they do. So it was a really interesting couple of conversations I had today before lunch. Yes, before lunch, I went to pick up Maya from school, my daughter. And that's the kind of crazy life we live in, because I really believe that this year is the most interesting year that we've ever had before. David Kavanagh, nice to see you, sir, in Thailand on Facebook. As always, good to see you. In fact, I'm just checking now to see my different platforms to make sure that I am live on all the different ones, which is fantastic too. So when I was chatting to all these various people, we're talking about the fact that the things have changed dramatically over the last couple of months, and I think disruption is really something that people need to be able to embrace. I think that it's going to be kind of scary for a lot of people, because if you were expecting it to snap back to the way it was in many ways and forms of what we used to have before, I don't think it ever is. I think what we see now is, during our lifetime at least, a global community that really is watching each other to see who's going to do what next. I don't think it matters about the establishment quite so much. I think that everyone who's involved in government or in established organizations is going to be holding on by their fingernails to say, we're still relevant. But I think there's a gap now, and I'll tell you what the gap is. I don't think that it matters anymore about being a pop star. I don't think, unless you're Taylor Swift or Beyonce, I don't think you really are that level of pop star. I don't think names carry movies anymore. So movie stars aren't the same thing. The new movie from The Rock, there's several ones. Moana's doing all right, I've got to say. But the red one, which is the one all about Christmas, hasn't taken off the way that everyone has hoped it could be, because the exorbitant prices and fees that used to go out to the actors in movies was only because you could justify that would create a box office hit, but it doesn't do that anymore. Why doesn't it do that anymore? Because people don't go to a cinema anymore, not in the same way as they used to. They'll go to see horror, which I mentioned before, but the old tentpole movies, the ones that you could guarantee would get a full cinema full of people, just isn't cutting the mustard. So that means that you're left to ask, well, who really are the influencers? Who are the impactful people? Yeah, because we know there's influencers out there because they're out there doing the stuff they do on social media. But I don't know if you feel the same thing, but I find social media to be pretty toxic. And here I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So, Dave, but what are you doing? But right now, it's the only game in town, and it's the way that you do reach people. It doesn't mean you have to be a toxic person to use it. Let me explain to you a little bit. I was watching a documentary about exactly what went into the decision-making process about making Facebook. And it was really all about making a website, and this is what was given to the programmers: make a website that is so sticky that people must stay on it. So what was the algorithm meant to do? it was meant to force people to not be able to take their eyes off it. That means that the more people time they spend on it, the more revenue comes from advertisers, and the more power they'd have being able to turn around and say, we are the best social media platform. And this isn't just Facebook, this is all of them. So how do you get people to pay attention? You start fights. You make them scared. Because if they're scared, they can't take their eyes off it. If it's comfortable, they don't care. Think about it. Every time that you've been inside a comfort zone, you don't really care about stuff anymore. You just go, yeah, life's okay. I don't have to work that hard. The boss gave me an appraisal that said I was fine. Or you're in a happy relationship, so you kind of take your foot off the gas because you think, well, this is what I was doing before worked really well. I'll worry about it if it all changes. So social media was not created to make people happy or make people connected. It was made to make people stay on it. And I think if it was created from a different point of view, we'd have different results. So that means that we've got a world that's really driven by the need to position yourself. If you haven't got movie stars, you haven't got pop stars, you've got business stars. People that we all look at and respect because the new pop song is an app. Think about that. The new pop song is an app. The new album is an organization that has lots of different songs, which is artists or business people working under them. It's a shift. It's a real change of scenery and a real change of impact. And if you think I'm not telling you the truth, you wait to see what happens in 2025. You'll find lots more disruption, lots more people who are the new rock stars being put in positions of government and decision making, or just taking those positions because they have more influence across their public than ever before. I was watching a documentary, I might have mentioned it before, about Jeremy Clarkson, the guy who was from Top Gear, which you probably saw at some point, which is a great TV show. If you've never heard of it before, then check out 8 million years worth of episodes. If he decided to run for the Prime Minister of the UK, he would probably get it. I don't think he wants to. I don't think he's got any interest in it, but he's put enough time as a celebrity and enough people love him for who he is and what he does. If he decides to turn his hand to politics, there's very few people that could stand in his way, including the incumbent Prime Minister and also the opposition party. Why? Because he's a celebrity, he's a rock star, he's got an audience, he's got eyeballs. TV is starting to fade. Why? Well, look at it. The next generation spends the time on YouTube. If you're looking for real rock stars, you've got to look at the guys who are the business leaders. You've got to look at the Zuckerbergs and the Elon Musks. You've got to look at the people like Mr. Beast. People like that are really taking everything by storm. And the older generation, people like me, don't even notice it. Why? Because we're too busy going, oh, it will come back. It doesn't come back, not the way it used to. I was on a TV show called Blind Date many years ago. That's actually just before I moved to the UAE. And at some point, maybe before Christmas, I'll show you the whole episode. But just for fun, I'll share with you the episode that I was in, and you'll see how well I got on with it. And I apologize if you've seen this before, and if you haven't seen it before, it's still kind of funny. If you just joined me, by the way, welcome to Speak on Stage. It's all about the Thought Leaders Playbook. Here's a QR code. Have a look at it. We'll talk about the bundle in a minute, and I've got Q&A from people sending in questions asking me all about how to start a side hustle. So if you're really interested in learning how to start a second business or a third business or multiple businesses right alongside your existing business, then stick around. This was me 30 years ago on Blind Date in the UK, and this had 20 million people watching. Here we go.
You said on film there, I mean, she was smiling and giggling all the time, and it was beginning to wear you down.
Well, there's one thing that hasn't been mentioned, right, and I'll show you. If you sit next to Mass and you go... that is what happens. Now, one little clue from that, she hates whistling. Now, she hits you if you do it, and I can see it when we get married, obviously. 2 years down the line, that'll be a thumb on the head. 5 years down the line, when there's loads of little kids running about, she'll be running through the house with a baseball bat saying, "Oh, whistle, there's one of you!"
I can't stand whistling. It does my brain in. And once I...
Oh, stop it!
1, 2, 3.
And yeah, as soon as
You
I
asked for
found
it,
out
Baz,
that
you
I
asked
hated
for it.
whistling, he did it more and more and more.
But I did the rest of it from out of arm's length so she couldn't hit me, so I was all right.
So there you go, take me back. As you can see, I was a little bit younger there, and in fact, a lot younger, and I say it. Okay, very good. I know that as well. But here's the point. 20 million people watched that. Nowadays, a really big show, the top of British television, at the most will get about 4.5 million, maybe 5 million people. Why is that? Because everyone's doing other things. They've got other distractions. I'm not just talking about iPads. So they're on their iPads, kids are on iPads, on devices, everybody is. They're just not spending so much time watching terrestrial TV. It doesn't reach the same amount of people as before. So therefore, where is everybody? There's still a growing population around the world, but you've got to find out where they are and you've got to reach them. And you can't reach them all at the same time. But if you've got 5 million people watching you live on YouTube, you would be just the top broadcaster on the planet. The guys who are really at the top of the food chain, who are making crazy money like Mr. Beast, they don't get those kind of numbers when they go live, but they do get a ton of people, and those people are loyal, and those people are not chasing it because it was on TV at the time. They're following and subscribing, and the guys earn money from all that. It's a completely different business model, which I find fascinating, and I hope you do as well. So I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of things. Next up, by the way, I'm going to share with you the Q&A. I think we'll go and have a look at that. And by the way, if you haven't seen my trip to Davos, make sure you do. It's available on all platforms. Just have a look. I broadcasted it on Tuesday. And as of this being broadcast, this is Thursday. And it's the 12th of December. And it's now 25 minutes past 9 evening. And we're in Dubai this time. Where you are in the world, I have no idea, but it's good to have you with me. So we got questions and answers, and as usual, I had plugged it in. It's not plugging back again. Let's see if it just does it now. Come on, you know you want to. Where are you? 1, 2, 3, and there you go. Thought Leader's Playbook. Fantastic. Who could have imagined? Welcome to the show, by the way. It's a live podcast. And as you can see, if it was not a live podcast, that would have been connected earlier. And that's how it all works. Q&A. We talk about a couple of things and questions I've had. Now, I've just done an article, which I actually haven't published now I think about it. It's a newsletter I'm going to be sharing with you on LinkedIn probably tomorrow. And it's all about bungee jumping. And when I talk about my signature thing, which is jump and grow wings on the way down, which means you've got to really embrace making things happen and making change happen. Most people don't do it. Most people are scared to do it, and they do, and that's because of lots of different reasons and good reasons, like you don't know what's going to be around the corner. But getting outside your comfort zone is a really important thing to do, because here's the thing: that's actually where all the magic happens in your life. That's where the most fascinating things that you could ever do happen, when you actually do embrace the idea of being outside of your comfort zone. So I'm going to share with you a little sneak peek of when I first got out of my comfort zone, and that was really taking a bungee jump. Now, I'm scared of heights. I did this event. I'll talk about it in the newsletter. And the event was called Kickstart 93. So we're going back to 1993. That's over 31 years ago. I didn't quite look like this. I looked a lot younger, a lot fitter. But even so, a bungee jump is a bungee jump. Going up to about 15 to 20 stories in a big crane, not me, pun not intended, and jumping off the top of the building was part of the deal, because I was putting together an employment fair in Middlesbrough, where Middlesbrough is in the northeast of England, and it was going for a really hard time. A lot of unemployed kids, a lot of people who are involved in crime. And my job, a volunteer but also part-time, was doing projects that would help. And I got some really good commendations from the Prime Minister and Prince Charles at the time, because I was working with the Prince's Trust. But this special event I put together. Now, here's the thing. When we talk about side hustles, I want you to be able to embrace this. And I talk about it at length in the newsletter. When I put this event together, I was working at the BBC as a freelance news reporter. And so when over the summer came, sometimes I was working, sometimes I wasn't. That's what freelance is. So you get a couple of shifts here, a couple of shifts there. Whereas I was offered 6 weeks of full time making this event come together. It had to come together. There's a budget for it. And if we didn't do it in the right time and put it together over summer holidays, by the time it came back to people going back to school, we would have missed our opportunity. What I didn't realize was that the powers that be were not capable of doing it. They didn't want to talk to each other. You had local governments, you had organizations that all had a vested interest in freezing what was going on politically. So they brought me in, innocent me, and said, Dave, can you do it? And I went, yeah, okay. And I did it and made it happen. And I found that as I was putting it together, a number of the people that were asking me to do it withdrew their help. So I had to make it work anyway. So we had a limited budget. I had a couple of staff. I had 4 staff, including myself and a guy who was seconded to work with me, and 2 guys who were doing community service in Middlesbrough, who were kind of like their community service was working with us, but we brought it together. But the limited budget meant that I couldn't really advertise and get a big celebrity in. I was well known, I was a DJ, and I was in magazines and stuff, but I certainly wasn't a huge celebrity at that time. I hadn't done Blind Date yet. So what I suggested was, we're going to put together a massive bungee jump, and I'll take the first jump. And I'm petrified of jumping. Even now, it's not something I'd want to do. But if I could do the first jump, it proved that you could get a job, you could change your ways of doing stuff, and the sky's the potential limit. So I'm going to show you very quickly where my jump and grow wings on the way down really came from. This is Speak on Stage. So there you go. There's the proof. I'm not making this stuff up. Completely true. That's me jumping off a bungee. And yes, I do look young, and I do look innocent, and I do look incredibly thin in comparison to the way I am right now. And I don't need you to point that out to me. So it's a Q&A time, as I promised. Let's go and have a look at the questions. So today, I'm going through a number of questions that have been asked of me about creating a side hustle. If you've got any questions, by the way, feel free to share them with me, and I'll answer those questions as well. Just put them into the comment on wherever you are, whichever profile you're on, whether it's in YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, and I'll get around to answering them. If I don't catch you live and you're watching the replay, I'm more than happy to go through and answer your questions a little bit later. So the first question's here, and I'll make myself slightly small to be able to get this, and it's a question from Grace in the Philippines, who's a virtual assistant. Great job, Grace. And she says, how do I know if my business idea is worth pursuing? That's a good question. Before you start a side hustle, you've got to do your research and work out. And what you need to do, because the thing is, everyone's got great ideas. Like, for instance, writing a book. And I've mentioned my book before. This is a Thought Leaders Playbook, which you can see there. And why is that called the Thought Leaders Playbook? And my system for helping people is called the Industry Icon Program. Because if I was to put it out commercially, people wouldn't know what the Industry Icon Program is. They might make a guess at it, but everyone knows what a thought leader is. So sometimes when you talk about your business, Grace, it's not enough to say, I've got a really good idea, I've got a really good book that I want to write, because it doesn't matter how good it is. If you haven't got an audience that's looking for it, it's a waste of time. So let me just illustrate for that how important it is when we talk about it being a waste of time. I don't mean to offend anybody, and if you're doing a startup and you're having trouble struggling to get it, then this might be very useful for you to think about it. You might be creating something that everybody needs, but it doesn't mean you're creating something that everybody wants. Say that again. They might need it, but they might not want it. And if they don't want it, they won't pay for it. Does that make sense? Let me illustrate what that means. So therefore, you might have a technology to make a proper Iron Man suit, where people could put it on, be like Tony Stark, and fly around the world. What a great gift that would be to the world. And how many people would want it? Lots and lots and lots, we say. But would they really buy it? Would they really want it? Maybe everyone needs it. It'd be a great idea. Never need cars again, and make it so it's not based on fossil fuels, or it's solar powered or something. But you've got a choice then. You're an investor. Would you invest in this Iron Man suit that gets everybody to fly around the world like Iron Man? Or would you invest in a cup holder like this that has a thermos in it, is big enough to carry all the water in, and it slots into the coffee cup bit in your car, and you can carry it around all day and hydrate? The truth is, people want this. Investors would more invest in this than in the Iron Man suit. And I know what you're thinking. I'm a massive Marvel fan. I'd love to have the Iron Man suit. How cool would that be? Well, here's the thing. People will only put money into something that's a step up from what they already have. What does this replace? This replaces normal shaped thermos flasks, or little cup holders, or ones that haven't got a thermos inside. just big water bottles. That's what it does. Nothing spectacular, but these Jersey cups have gone viral everywhere. People are drinking them, taking them to the gym, carrying them around work, everything. So when you come up with a side hustle, by the way, Grace, I hope that answers your question. To know if it's worth pursuing, I would do some research. I'd ask about it, see if there's a need and a want, and people are buzzing because there's a big problem and they're looking for a solution. I'd road test it with a prototype, and I'd see if it's something that people would invest in. If it's something that you like and hopefully everyone else will like it, don't bother doing it. It sounds terrible to say it, but you'll spend your entire time trying to convince people it's a great idea. And sometimes the stuff that you do is miles ahead of the game. It's what everyone will do in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and so on. Let me give an example for that. So, for instance, I'm a hypnotist. I don't know if you know I'm a hypnotist, but I do stage hypnosis shows and stuff like that. In fact, I'm going to try and find you something to illustrate about this. Okay, where are we? Right. So I'm a hypnotist by trade, and I was one of the first. I went from being a radio DJ and doing gigs and all the rest of the stuff that goes nightclubs and stuff. I wanted to have a cabaret that would work. So I would allow me to just do an hour's work in a nightclub and then leave. So what can I do as a singer? Maybe. As a hypnotist, if that was true, then I was very interested in doing it. So I became a stage hypnotist, which I found fascinating. I really enjoyed doing it. So when I became a stage hypnotist, I went to Vegas. I trained to be able to do it. I learned NLP and I learned life coaching, all the rest of the stuff. And so now what I do is a thing called a dream experience. And a dream experience is when I get a whole room full of people and put them into a trance state. And I'm able to then fill their head full of amazing stuff to be able to make them more resilient and make them have great experiences and be a lot better at being able to live in their functional life. Now, I'm not the only person doing it now. Lots of people do this, but I did this like 15, 20 years ago, long before everybody else. There wasn't a market for it then. I had a CD commercially that came out in the shops, did really well, but it wasn't going to get promoted without being championed. It was too far ahead of the game. Now, I still do these things when I do corporate events, and I just wanted to illustrate exactly what they look like by sharing with you what happens when I hypnotize a room with about 500, 700 people in it.
And the other rule is, when I count from 1 to 3, this time you're going to take a big deep breath, and this time when you breathe out, you're going to expand that glow inside your system. And this glow, instead, is going to surround you like a wonderful egg of power. Like in Star Trek, when they switch on the shields around the starship. Or Star Wars, or any superhero movies, where we suddenly are surrounded and nothing can get through because they've got a force field. We're going to create a force field so nothing ever negative can get back into your system ever again. We're going to count to 3, then take a big deep breath and feel it expand. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Big deep breath. Let's breathe out. Feel it. Feel it all the way around you. Feel how powerful it is. You're now protected. Nothing gets into your system ever again. Negativity can go out, but it can't come back in. You're doing very well. Allow yourself to go deeper and deeper relaxed.
So there you go. I hope that answers your question, Grace, about the ideas that are worth pursuing. Sometimes the ideas come through later, sometimes they never do. But here's the thing, you really need to be able to have this really strong brand and be very good at persuasion and influence and tell great stories about the stuff that you do. Why is that important? Because that's what people buy into. Do you know there's a ridiculous amount of people, something like 70% of inventions never see the light of day, never get sponsored, never get invested in. Why? Because the inventors have no way of communicating to people that this is a genius bit of kit or idea or service or product. So the great idea dies with them. Hate to say that, but it's just true. So thanks, Grace. Another question we'll take from Ethan, Australia, who's a marketing consultant. What's the best way to validate a new side hustle idea? I kind of covered that, Ethan. Sorry about that. With the idea that you cross-reference it, I would go and talk to about 20 people. 20 is a good number, and see what their response is. If they go, ugh, or say, interesting, but I wouldn't buy it, ask them some tough questions, do a survey. And you're probably thinking, why should I do that? Because that's going to kill my energy. Yeah, but what's going to kill your energy worse than spending like 5 years on a product that nobody wants? Do your research, find out, make a really good calculation. Who would be interested in it? Who's the demographic? Who's looking for this? Which headache will it fix? Can you get a sponsor on board who really wants to work with you, who then will be able to champion what it is that you're sharing with the world? If you can't answer any of those questions, then put it on ice, put it on hold, and carry on doing what you're doing until you can find a way to answer those questions. Will you potentially miss the boat of being able to get it out there? Maybe you will. But at least you've not wasted any of your time beyond what you were doing to be able to put into something that might not turn into an effective side hustle. Okay, one more question. This is Liam, who's a teacher in Canada. Says, how can I balance my side hustle with a full-time job? Great question, by the way, Liam. I don't think that anybody should start a side hustle if you don't have a full-time job. Just the same as being a speaker. Being a speaker is a great career, and it's a wonderful opportunity to make a ton of money, sometimes more than you would do in your normal job by being an expert and being hired to speak in lots of different places. But here's where the real problem comes across, and many people experience this as well. Typically, when you're doing a business, it will take you twice as long and cost twice as much as you predict. So you set yourself a target of in 6 months it'll be in the shops. It won't be in 6 months, it'll be in a year. It'll be in the shops. And if you say it's going to cost me $5,000 to do it, to get it to the prototype, it'll take you $10,000. There's always something that comes along that hijacks that process. Just get used to it. Factor in double whatever you think it's going to be. So therefore, during that time, how are you going to pay the bills? It's difficult. So ideally what you want to do is have a full-time job and just work really hard outside of that. Night times, mornings, weekends. Get help in to make sure that you haven't hijacked your existing job, but you're building something that could bring in revenue, but you're not dependent on it for to be able to eat or have a roof over your head. Now, what would be perfect in that scenario is being able to then work on your product, launch it, and then it's like having a motorbike with a sidecar next to it. And if you don't know what they are, Google them. Motorbikes and sidecars. So the sidecar is your side hustle, and you drive it financially because you've got a motorbike. That means that if you lose your job, you've still got the sidecar, you've still got your side hustle, but you've already tested it. And the thing that's missing is maybe you need to step it up. Maybe what you need to do is go full time on that. But you're not launching it from scratch. You've already got a track record of being able to do it. Will it fill the gap? Well, ideally, what you want to do is get a side hustle that really works for you. Something that you really enjoy, you'll never get bored of doing, and it's very much something that you're passionate about. Now, I hope that makes sense, Liam. I know I kind of it sounds like I'm being negative about how to run and launch a side hustle, but I promise you that's not the case. I just want to make sure that when you do it effectively. So let's go to the conversation now about what happens when you press this button, the QR code, and you go and join me on my course. I've got lined up for you in the new year something very special. If you go to the Thought Leaders Playbook, you can buy it from Amazon, or what you can do is go to this website here. And thank you very much to Aziz just for a pop-up there. Just close that here. So you go to the Thought Leaders Playbook, and that's where the QR code will take you. I'll just make this a little bit bigger. When you get there, you can see the whole lot there. All the products, everything. How to be able to launch your business, how to be able to put yourself in the position of being very successful. I've got here something very special for you. So I'm going to show you what we've got. These are the offers that we have leading up to Christmas Eve, and I'm going to pull them. So you've got the mindset and wellness ecosystem. That's all the hypnosis audios you need to be able to position yourself so you can get your career on track. You can be strong enough to be able to be resilient against all the naysayers about your career, dealing with stress, and also guaranteed success, being able to know where you need to be. You've got VIP mentoring, which is working with me directly, and we get a couple of sessions to be able to look at everything you're working on and then put it into perspective and put together a roadmap for you to be able to guarantee success in 2025. Plus also, I'm going to throw in with that the personal branding accelerator, which is a series of modules put together to help you get over imposter syndrome, to help you to be able to get booked on podcasts to talk to them, to be able to get a marketing mix that really resonates with your people, to be able to dominate LinkedIn, and also how to be able to be effective when you grow your own personal brand. That's all included in the VIP mentoring package. Then we've got the Side Hustle Starter Pack, which, as I mentioned, is a load of stuff to help you to launch your business. We talked a little bit about it today with the Q&As. We'll do some more Q&As probably tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow we're going live with LinkedIn audio just before they take it and remove it from everything. We want to do another one of them. And then we've got a storytelling masterclass, which is when I teach you how to tell incredible business stories that get everybody excited. Now, these are individual products that are all available when you go to the QR code, but if you buy them all together in one bundle, it's under $1,000. Now, that's something to treat yourself for, it's something to treat to a friend, but it's something that you're guaranteed to have to need if you want to be successful in 2025. It's the year that you really want to position yourself as one of the most effective people in your industry. So how do you get access to this stuff? Very simple. Just go to the QR code there. If you're watching on a digital device, and just press the button, I'll take you to the website and get it booked up. There's limited amounts of spaces for everybody on the courses, but I want to make sure that you are there for the one-to-one mentoring, because I guarantee you it will change your life. And if you're wondering how effective is it, let me just share with you a couple of people I've been working with in the past. Let me just see if I can find this for you now. He said trying to find buttons that he wasn't planning on sharing with you. Okay, so when you create that legacy, you want to make sure that you've got people who are really effective. Some of these people you will remember because you've probably met before.
I have been participating in Dave Crane's Industry Icon program.
Dave Crane is one of the best coaches in the industry.
One of the most knowledgeable speakers I know.
I was so impressed.
He shared the stage with celebrities, athletes, politicians, and royalty.
You've been an inspiration to me since the first time I saw you on LinkedIn, man.
New prospects should know that you are a world-class broadcaster.
He's a true professional. He operates from his heart, and he always speaks his truth.
Where do I begin?
I looked around the room and all I could see was eyes on you, ears on you. You could have heard a pencil drop.
Dave is someone who is a limitless thinker with a big heart.
And his Industry Icon program helps coach great leaders into becoming great speakers.
There you go, some incredible people I've been working with in the past, and you may recognize them for being big hitters. If not, look at their LinkedIn profiles and connect with them, because I promise you it will give you incredible value in your lives. If you're not already following and working with these people, they are geniuses and thought leaders. And that's about it for today. I don't want to do longer than half an hour to be able to share with you some insights and stuff. I look forward to working with you. We'll be back tomorrow for a live audio session, which you're always welcome to come along to. Have a look at my profile. Make sure you follow me, connect with me, and also I'm going to leave you with the thoughts of a really big thought leader, somebody who's read my book and wants to share with you the impact of what this has. So I'm going to leave you with the very amazing Raymond Aaron, who is one of the best salespeople I've ever seen on stage. Incredible thought leader, incredible mentor, brilliant coach, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and one of the few people I know who can walk onto a stage in front of 300, maybe even 500 people and make over $1 million in conversation with the room by selling his products and getting everyone to queue up and run at the stage to want to work with him. Here's what he thinks of what I do. Meanwhile, I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. I will get back to you. If you want to talk to me directly, feel free to do that as well. Meanwhile, check out the QR code, which is here. I'll catch you tomorrow. Take it easy. All the very best. Wherever you are in the world, it's time for you to jump and grow wings on the way down.
Hello, my name is Raymond Aaron, New York Times top 10 best-selling author. But I want to tell you about an author, Dave Crane, who recently wrote the Thought Leader Playbook. It is amazing. It is powerful. It is right on target. It's exactly what you need if you want to thrive in these troubled times. My name is Raymond Aaron, and I endorse Dave Crane and his amazing new book.
Get your copy of the Thought Leaders Playbook right now.